Have you ever felt like your entire world just collapsed overnight? Not just a minor setback, but a total shattering of the ground beneath your feet. A moment where everything you relied on, your career, your security, your identity, simply went up in smoke, leaving you falling into a dark void of uncertainty. Let's travel back to October, the year 1600. Imagine you are a 17-year-old boy. You aren't an ordinary teenager. You are a proud warrior, a member of a powerful clan. You stand on the battlefield of Sekigahara, sword in hand, ready to carve your name into history. But in 6 short hours, your world becomes a living hell. 80,000 of your comrades are slaughtered. Severed heads are scattered across the mud like rotten fruit. Your clan is erased from existence. Your social status turns to dust. In a single morning, you go from a promising samurai to a hunted criminal, forced to hide in the filth just to keep your head attached to your shoulders. This was day zero for Miyamoto Musashi, the man who would become the greatest swordsman in Japanese history. But here is the fascinating part. That brutal fall wasn't the end of his story, it was the catalyst. During the following years, living as a wandering ronin, a masterless warrior, Musashi developed 5 mental weapons. These are not vague philosophies or feel-good self-help clichés. These are battlefield-tested principles forged in the deepest pain a human can endure. Today, I'm going to show you how to apply Musashi's 30-day protocol to your own life. Rule number 1 will challenge everything you've been told about dealing with pain. Rule number 2 will shock you with its cold-blooded discipline. And rule number 5, it is a weapon that 99% of people completely overlook. Take a deep breath. Your journey of reinvention starts now. After the defeat at Sekigahara, Musashi had 2 traditional choices. He could commit seppuku, ritual suicide, to save his honor, or he could spend his life as a bitter drunk, mourning what he had lost. He chose a third path: acceptance. Musashi's first rule is simple yet devastating. Stop resisting what has already happened. When disaster strikes, our brain is programmed for denial. We say, "This can't be happening to me." Then comes anger. "This is unfair." Then comes bargaining. "If I just do this, maybe things will go back to normal." Musashi skipped these steps. He looked at the wreckage of his life and asked one lethal question: what now? A study from Harvard University found that the fastest recovering trauma victims aren't the strongest or most stoic. They are the ones who accept their new reality the quickest. Think of it like this. You are in a burning house. You can stand in the hallway screaming, "This house shouldn't be on fire," or you can run for the exit. Your screaming doesn't put out the flames, it just makes you inhale more smoke. Acceptance isn't passivity, it is a strategy. It frees up the massive amount of energy you are wasting on resistance and pivots it toward action. Your 30-day task: every time a thought of regret or "why me" enters your mind, stop. Say out loud, "This is the reality. What is my next move?" When you are in deep pain, your brain screams for a shortcut to relief. In feudal Japan, ronins often became gamblers or alcoholics to numb their shame. Musashi refused. He realized that comfort is a trap. Rule number 2 is reject weakening pleasures. Instead of seeking a soft bed or a warm drink, Musashi chose the harder path. He lived in the wild, ate only to survive, and trained for 8 hours a day. He didn't do this to punish himself. He did it to build mental armor. Modern neuroscience calls this dopamine management. When you are in a crisis, you are tempted by cheap dopamine, social media, junk food, or substances to fill the void. However, a neuroscientist at Stanford discovered that pampering yourself during high stress actually spikes your cortisol levels. Why? Because your subconscious knows you are running away. When you choose intentional suffering, like a cold shower or a grueling workout, you signal to your nervous system that you are the one in control. The 30-day challenge: cut out one comfort habit that you know is making you soft. Replace it with 15 minutes of something difficult. Let discipline be the medicine that heals your spirit. In 1612, Musashi faced Sasaki Kojiro, a swordsman with perfect technique and a heart full of rage. Musashi won before the fight even began, by arriving 3 hours late. While Kojiro was pacing the beach, screaming with fury and losing his focus, Musashi was calm, carving a wooden sword from a boat oar. The duel lasted only 30 seconds. Kojiro, the technically superior fighter, died because he fought with emotion. Musashi fought with reason. Rule number 3, don't let your feelings drive the car. We live in a culture that encourages us to follow your heart. Musashi would tell you that's a recipe for disaster. Emotions are alarms, not GPS units. A Harvard study tracking 2,000 people over a decade found that 87% of the decisions people regretted most were made in intense emotional states: anger, fear, or even euphoria. Musashi's 10-second buffer. When a wave of anxiety or anger hits, wait 10 seconds. Let the chemical surge peak and then recede. Ask yourself, what would the most rational version of me do right now? Be the pilot of your life, not the passenger crying in the back seat. After years of wandering, Musashi faced an enemy more dangerous than any sword: the obsession with his own suffering. He found himself trapped in a loop of, why is my life so hard? He realized that self-obsession is a prison. Rule number 4, expand your vision beyond your own pain. Musashi forced his mind to learn calligraphy, painting, and poetry. He studied architecture and philosophy. He literally forced his brain to care about things bigger than his own empty stomach. Neuroscience shows that focusing exclusively on your own problems activates the brain's suffering circuits. But when you learn something new, your brain builds new neural pathways that effectively switch off the pain loop. Your suffering, however real, is a microscopic fragment of the human experience. From the valley, a boulder looks like a mountain. From the summit, that same boulder is just a pebble in a vast landscape. Musashi became an unpredictable warrior because he had the wide-angle lens of an artist. The 30-day task. Spend 1 hour every day learning a skill that has nothing to do with your current problems. Let knowledge be the bridge that leads you out of your own head. The scarcity trap. Even at the peak of his fame, Musashi struggled with envy. He saw samurai with stable clans and felt the poison of, why them and not me? He discovered rule number 5, strategic gratitude. This isn't toxic positivity, it is a war strategy. Musashi trained his mind to focus on his assets. He was alive, he was healthy, he had the freedom to reinvent himself. An experiment at UC Davis showed that people who wrote down 3 specific things they were grateful for every day for 30 days had higher levels of dopamine and serotonin than those who didn't. Gratitude creates mental abundance. In a duel, the man afraid of losing what he has is stiff and slow. The man grateful for the opportunity to fight is fluid and dangerous. Gratitude removes the fear of loss. When you believe you have resources, you act with power. The 30-day habit. Every night, write down 3 specific things that went right. Not I'm alive, but I mastered a new skill today. Specificity forces the brain to focus on what is working. Musashi's hidden 6th rule was this: never try to go back to who you were before. Most people in a crisis are obsessed with fixing their old life. But Musashi understood that the 17-year-old boy at Sekigahara was dead. Trying to resurrect a dead version of yourself is a waste of time. Instead, use the pain as raw material to build something that never existed before. Musashi didn't become a normal samurai again. He became a philosopher warrior, a legend who influenced centuries of history. Your broken life isn't a curse. It is a demolition project. The old structure had to fall so that a cathedral could be built in its place. Real growth only happens under pressure. Diamonds are created in the deep dark, not in the sun. The challenge: stop trying to fix yourself. Start building the version of you that hasn't been born yet. Accept your reality. Cut the weakening pleasures. Master your emotions. Expand your mind. Weaponize your gratitude. Which of these rules speaks to you the loudest? Tell me in the comments. Knowledge without action is just entertainment, and you didn't come this far just to be entertained. The choice is yours. Will you mourn the life you lost or build the one you were meant to have?